Hello and welcome to the Conscious Club podcast. My name is Areege Tanveer Chaudhary and I am your host that welcomes you through this wondrous journey of exploring what it's like to be a human being on planet Earth at this time of rapid evolutionary change. Because if you haven't noticed already, humanity is going through an up level, whether it's through technology or whether it's through just an organic evolution of our consciousness. We are heading into a completely new era, and through this podcast, I talk about it. So if that interests you, keep listening and enjoy the ride. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Conscious Club podcast. Today's episode is my second ever episode with Garett. We kind of start off with a little life update, what both of us are doing, and then that naturally flows into this conversation about work styles and burnout and hustle culture, and like the overall arching theme is about what I'm going to end up titling this podcast episode, which is dissolving the boundaries between work and play. So, or creating our lifestyle or creating our work life in a way that makes us feel like we're playing all the time, so that the work doesn't actually feel like work and it doesn't feel draining, and we don't end up getting, it's just preventing burnout. And yeah, you'll see what I could probably say the whole thing in this intro, but I'm not. I will leave it to what I already just spoke about in the podcast. But yeah, enjoy. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Conscious Club podcast. I've got Garett here with me today. And honestly, we don't have a selected topic really for this podcast. We spent a few minutes trying to figure out what we wanted to talk about, but nothing really seems like there's no real concrete topic that's landing right now. So yeah, we're just gonna go from there and just see what wants to talk about. This is probably not going to be that long of a podcast, but we'll see how it goes. How are you, Garett? Welcome back.
It's a rainy day today, so it's very calm. Not much is happening.
It's so cozy. It's really cozy. Yeah, why don't you just start off with any updates from your side, and then I think what you said of what are we up to, I think that's a good place to start, because I feel like that doesn't really get talked about in any of my other episodes, because even with my solo episode, last one that I did, it was on a specific topic, not necessarily a life update, so we can do that.
Yeah, this is basically my YouTube series on my business, because every time I make a video for that, it's just talking about all the problems that I have with everything that's going on. But essentially, I don't know what, I'm sure we talked about it in one of the last podcasts, where we're at, but essentially I'm working on getting data from the Securities and Exchange Commission for my company, Wealth Conscious. I think the last time we did one of these episodes, I think we just talked about, that was the first time I announced the name publicly.
Yeah.
So I guess since then, I've been continuing to work on the data pipeline. I'm not exactly sure where I left off in that last one, but we ended up wanting to change the way the pipeline worked in order to get more data. So
can you explain what a data pipeline is for those who don't know?
Essentially, a data pipeline is a piece of code or multiple pieces of code that work together to process some data, and usually put it in a database or train a machine learning model or something like that. So generally speaking, you can either get data from sensors, if it's weather data, or from individuals, if people enter the data into a database, and then you can do something with that data. So in this case, we're using company data that companies submit to something called the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is a regulator in the United States that enforces certain rules on public companies. So essentially, companies that are public have to post their financial statements and certain updates to the Securities and Exchange Commission, so that that data can be made available to the public, so that investors can understand the businesses that they're investing in. Now, the way that they present that data isn't very friendly to just individual investors like you and I. So what we're working on is trying to take in that data and transform it in a way that makes it more user friendly, so people can make better investment decisions. So yeah.
And what are the challenges that you're facing is around that formatting process, right?
Yeah. So most of it is to do with like, okay, first I'll start off by saying the Securities and Exchange Commission is much better than any other any other government agency I've used in terms of like disseminating the data. Yeah. But there's still a lot of issues with that data. So it's not necessarily their responsibility. Like, some of the issues would initiate from the companies that are making the filings themselves. But there's just a lot of different problems with the data that you have to deal with. And there's a lot of work involved in transforming it so that you can put it in your own database. And there's just a lot of stuff involved, and a lot of bugs that you have to work through because of the data not being in the format that you expect it to be in. So it's a long grind, but we're working through it. And there's a reason why there's not a lot of people getting the data directly from the Securities and Exchange Commission. Most companies will just buy the data from another vendor that's already done the work of collecting the data from the Securities and Exchange Commission, but we're trying to make this more accessible. So there's a lot of costs involved with using a vendor, and they also lock down, they have strict rules on what you can use that data, how you can use that data. So yeah, we're doing hard work so that our product ends up being better in the long run.
Is it something like the challenges that you're facing? Is there any part of you that's like worried that you can't overcome it just because of the, I don't know, degree of difficulty?
No. Sometimes it feels like that, but usually that's short-lived because you find a way around it. Most problems can be solved. I mean, right now, I'm not 100% confident that the thing I'm working on will lead to a solution, but I have already a solution in place. But the problem is that what's in place will take too long to collect all of the data, because you have to remember, this is like all of the public statements and financial statements and just like informational statements for all of the companies in the United States since like 1995. So it's a lot of data. There's like, I don't even know how much data it is, but it's probably it's definitely in the tens, probably in the hundreds of gigabytes of data.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different problems that can come up. But anyways, the thing that I'm working on right now is not to do with processing that data. I've already got like that done with respect to like individual updates that companies provide. But the thing I'm trying to get done now is making it faster so that when I initially turn the system on, it can load in all the data as fast as possible. So it's not really like, can I get the data? I already know I can. It's can I get the data in my database in a couple of days, or is it going to take me 3 months? So that's the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that kind of, like, the type of work that you're doing, of, I don't know, it's just, it feels so, I feel like I couldn't really place myself in the position that you're in because of the amount of persistence and, I don't know, like hyperfixation on one task that you have to do and like hold basically until you solve it. There's a part of me that enjoys variety when it comes to like what I'm doing, and I like switching between different things. Even like during my work day, if I have like a full day of work to do on things, like I'll even like create that variety by just like sitting in different places. But you're very different because you kind of just, you're just in your room or in your office on your computer all day working on, I mean, the data pipeline stuff you've been working on for months. But
Yeah.
I've always noticed that difference between us and in that, because I'm like, oh, like that, I would get so bored essentially.
Well, it's yeah. I mean, it's just are you bored with coding in general? If so, then yeah, you can't do it. But uh generally speaking, you're gonna get a new problem every day. Like the every time every line of code you write is solving a new problem. So it's not boring in that sense because you always get something new to do. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've been working on the data pipeline for a while because the initial version that I wrote, which was like basically the whole thing, it was just not good enough because of the data quality issues of the original way we were doing it. They had to be solved. Um, so yeah, we're taking a low level approach to processing this data instead of relying on some pre-processed stuff that the 𝗍𝗓 provides. So
Yeah, yeah. But like when I look at, I think it's not about like necessarily boredom of coding. It's just that, you know how like when you zoom into like what you're actually doing, like you're just on your computer, like the actions that you're taking, like the different types of information. I don't know, it just feels too like for me, what I would get bored about is that there's not enough interesting variety in the types of concepts that I have to play around in my mind. I think because I'm very like thought based, and like a lot of what I do throughout the day is like very, it's like turning philosophical concepts around in my head, and like the work that you do when it's coding and it's technical, it doesn't give me enough of that input for me to feel motivated or interested in doing that kind of a project, which is also why I've like when I graduated from, or when we graduated from computer science, like at university, I was just like, I don't know if I'll ever really fit in to that world.
yeah, and I think a lot of people that graduate from computer science, I'd say probably more than half of them just end up in some sort of management position because they don't actually want to be doing the coding. Um,
Mm-hmm.
do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, why, in your perspective, why do you, the people who go into computer science degrees or get into the computer science field, what do you think motivates them? I'll share what motivated me, but what, from your perspective, do you think are some of the factors that motivate people to join that field?
Well, I think a big part of it, at least when we were doing it, was just people thought that there'd be a lot of jobs in it. That's one big one. And then usually the other big one is like the whoever it is that wants to be in that field had some sort of experience when they were younger with computers that was positive. So like if that was playing like computer games or like just being I don't know, interested in using the computer more than the other kids or something like that.
Yeah. And that's like both of those things are exactly why I joined it. I mean, because I was actually thinking about this just yesterday, or it might have been this morning. I was thinking about like, yeah, it was yesterday because I was having a conversation with someone about. I was having a conversation. I know we had a conversation yesterday about household debt as well, but then I was having another conversation with someone else about student debt, and how when it comes to my own student debt, sometimes I feel like it's not like I am responsible for it, but I almost feel like I'm not responsible for it because it's almost like I wasn't fully conscious when I was making the decision to enroll in university. And so when I enrolled in university, like when it came to choosing what subject I wanted to pick, I chose computer science exactly because I was like, well, one, for the money, right? Like just, I mean, I'm going to talk about that in a bit as well. Just that whole philosophy that most of us have of where we do things for the money, or like we make our choices and decisions to maximize profit, whether we're a business or not. But then also because I had tech experience from when I was a kid and I enjoyed playing games and things like that and just being on the computer. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know, none of the other degrees feel like they fit me as much as computer science does. So that's what I did. And then I came out of it and I'm like, I don't really like the degree computer science versus like how to apply that in the actual field. I just immediately was like, yeah, I don't think I fit in with the field of computer science.
Yeah, they're much different, generally speaking. Like you'll take some classes that touch on what you're actually doing when you start working, but yeah, a lot of the times it's far different than the theory that they teach you in school.
Yeah, I mean, even the lifestyle, I think that's what put me off the most. Because I feel like you can do it. I mean, you already do that. You already are inherently. I mean, right now, the way that we're both living, like, we have full freedom over how we choose to live our days. Like, we don't have any commitments that we don't choose, really. And you kind of naturally have flowed into that lifestyle that is, I mean, I guess it's just like the programmer lifestyle. You're kind of just at your computer, at your desk, like solving the puzzles like all day or like as long, and then you have that inner drive to keep going because you want the satisfaction of solving the programming puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm like, oh, like I don't know, I don't really understand how. I mean, that just doesn't work for me. And I know you think that it's like if I really wanted to, I could do it and like maybe, but like there's like what's the thing that's keeping me from not really wanting to, you know? It's just not interesting. It seems like it's I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying
You
to
just
get at
don't
it.
like solving problems in that way.
Yeah, I like solving conceptual problems and philosophical problems and helping or like figuring out how to make everyday like day-to-day life more efficient and enjoyable. And I think that's what, so I'm still trying to figure out where exactly my computer science knowledge would come in handy, you know?
Yeah. So what are you up to?
I okay. There was one thing that was coming up, but I guess it'll come up again as I speak. But I am really just living my best life right now. A few weeks ago, I just felt like I went through this switch where I realized that I was I mean, I was having a lot of conversations with my friends in the coaching industry and stuff, and we were having a lot of conversations about how there's so many people in the coaching industry that are so hyper fixated on income goals and like monthly income goals and like hitting that 10K month and that's not just the coaching industry either. It's just kind of like this theme that's present in the online business world. And we were talking about that, and I was through that conversation I was noticing like patterns within myself and like noticing how much all of my activities, like everything that I do in my day-to-day life is pretty much has been with that perspective in mind. Like how can I maximize profit, like how can I hit those income goals, like everything was kind of had that tinge of intention to it. And even the things that are fun to do, it still had like in the background, I was still like, well, this is gonna like lead me to like more income, and everything was related to that. And that goes back to what I was saying about doing the computer science degree. It's like I did it not necessarily because I really enjoyed the everyday experience of like being on my computer and coding. I did it because I was like, well, it seems like there's going to be a lot of jobs and I'll be able to like survive and make money off it. So that's what I'll do it. And that theme just kept continuing on, even though when I graduated, I didn't even go into a full-time job and started doing my own thing. But that pattern of like chasing the dollars remained. And so in the past few weeks, I've really been contemplating like how to untangle myself from that web, because it's so deeply ingrained in all of us. And especially when you're an entrepreneur or you have your own business, it feels like there's an urgency because you don't have, I don't know, like there's no like backup plan. There's nothing to catch you. So you feel like the sense of urgency that keeps you perpetuating that pattern of chasing the dollars. And it just kind of feels like this like never ending loop that you can never break free of. And so a few weeks ago, I was like, okay, if I wasn't acting like that, how would I arrange my life? Like, what would I actually do if I didn't filter everything that I was inspired to do through the filter of, is there an obvious pathway to making money off this? If I didn't do that, what would I do? And I just didn't have an answer right away, because usually my life doesn't work like that. I just kind of have to like live through each moment. I get inspiration zaps throughout the day, or like randomly sometimes. And while I wait for those inspiration zaps, I just have to kind of, and I don't know, like I have to wait. I have to wait for these like true motivation zaps to come through that give me energy to like actually do something. And so in the past, when I was like chasing the money, instead of honoring that natural flow that I had of like, there's stillness and then I'll be like resting or doing something else, and then I'll have an inspiration zap to like create something or produce something, and then I'll use that energy to like bring it out into the world. And in the past, instead of honoring that wait time between the inspiration zaps, I would feel the urgency of hustle culture and feel the urgency of like running out of money and things like that, and I would override, like I would just force myself to do something even though there was no actual inspiration or energy or motivation actually there. Sometimes it was like FOMO related, like I'm like, okay, well I saw this person doing this, so then I should do that. But what ends up happening when I kept like over my past few years of observing myself going through that all of those things that I've done from force or because I feel FOMO or because I'm like feel like I'm being chased, and I like force myself to like output something that I don't actually feel like I want to deep down, like there's no actual inspiration there. Those activities just lead me to such intense burnout that then end up having me waste so much other time. And it's just this like really terrible cycle. So the point of this story is that a few weeks ago I like just switched off of that, and I was like, you know what, like what if I just stopped doing that? What would happen? And I've been doing a lot of somatic work, which basically means doing a lot of like checking in with my body and its feelings and allowing myself to feel the feelings instead of distracting. So like, for example, when I feel that urgency to like do something, even though there's no inspiration there, instead of doing the thing to distract myself and to just like get that feeling to go away, I have been just sitting with it and just like kind of meditating with it and allowing that feeling to be present, not only be present, but allowing myself to kind of almost magnify that feeling within my body, to kind of lose the fear around it, like lose the fear around the discomfort. And it's really uncomfortable because it's like there's still that part of like that primal part of me that feels like I need to be running and I need to be doing something. But I've been combating that with just the somatic work, and it's been resulting in is just such a yummy spaciousness in my days. And every time I do put out a video or I do like produce anything or create anything, whether it's an Instagram post, a video, whatever, it always feels so effortless and in flow, and it doesn't lead me to burnout. It's just like that feeling of inspiration, and it just feels so, I don't know, it just feels so enjoyable. And and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And then I think what also helps is that I have the Liberated Mystery School, which is like this community space that I started, and we have weekly calls, so I keep up with those, and that keeps that momentum going, which allows me to continue having that inspiration, like those inspiration zaps come through, because like my students and will like keep inspiring each other. So yeah, that's where I am at right now, and it feels really nice, and it feels really calm, and like I don't have to run anymore, and I can just chill, and even the work that I do feels more relaxing than it ever has. And the most recent inspiration zap that came through was I recorded the first episode of a Let's Play series on my YouTube channel where I'm playing Stardew Valley. And already, like in the first episode, I'm just noticing how interesting it is to collide my work world with my play world, because playing like a video game and then my work world, which is content creation, and like colliding those in this series is such an interesting experience for my body, because it's honestly, it like feels very confused because it's like on one hand it's like, because content creation has been a source of stress and pressure for me, there's all these feelings that come up when I hit record that are stressful and make me feel like tired and like drained, and then there's another part of me that's like the what I feel when I'm playing a game. It's really relaxed and chill and fun and playful, and so those two sensations are like rubbing up against each other as I create this series. But yeah,
do you think that having that outlet and merging those two aspects of yourself, of the play and the work in that way, do you think that that would reduce your chances of burnout in the future from your work type things?
Yeah, because
like,
it's
do you think
training, again, it's on from the same perspective of somatic work or like body work. It's training my body to start relaxing more when I'm content creating, right? So it's like almost like using a cheat tool and like creating like new patterns, so that yeah, I mean, it like I see it as something that's ultimately really beneficial for me. But again, like it goes back to what, like doing the Let's Play series and committing to that. And because it's obviously easier, if I want to play Stardew Valley, it's so much easier to just do it on my Switch and like be in bed and just, you know what I mean, like be in my own world and play. But then recording myself and doing it instead on my laptop and having the webcam and everything set up and the OBS and everything, it adds an extra layer of effort, but it's still playing a game. So I feel like it's helping me synthesize in a cool way. And again, like there's no obvious pathway to profit from this activity, which is also something that I feel like celebrating within myself, because in the past when I was operating from that for profit, like I would never have done this series.
Mhm.
But yeah, and again, right, like because if it's easy for me to make this, I'm still producing things and like being visible out in the world, but I'm not doing it in a way that burns me out. And I'm just like, if I just continue down this path and keep finding new activities and new ways to create that feel fun like this, I can create like a whole offering suite around, like I can just like keep building on the offering suite, you know what I mean? And eventually find like payment paths and stuff. But like right now I don't have to necessarily figure out whether this is going to be profitable in any way. It's just kind of like flowing with the in the moment inspiration and seeing where it leads me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really good to try and mix I mean, some people disagree with this, but I think it's good to try and mix your work and your play, because like, why would you want to not be playing all the time?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you can make your work feel like play, that's ideal.
Yeah.
So maybe
I mean,
this will help you get there.
yeah.
For me, I kind of feel like that already. Like
mm-hmm.
when I'm working, it's like a game to me more than more than not.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same as, for example, like playing a video game with my friends, just because that has a social aspect to it. And I guess you could say it's the difference between like a single player game and a multiplayer game. Like I'm playing a single player game when I'm working, and then when I play with games with my friends, it's a multiplayer game. So.
Yeah. I mean, and even like a few months ago, I wrote a whole blog post / Instagram post titled "Dissolving the Boundaries Between Work and Play," and that's what I was trying to cultivate in my life. And even though that concept I was already processing conceptually a few months ago, I feel like I'm only now actually learning how to apply it in my life. And you're right, like when it's like, I think this is what you were talking about last night too, and we were having that conversation about hustle. And it's like when you're actually like really into, and it feels like play, like whatever you're doing, like you can, from the outside, it looks like you're hustling, but from the actual experience, you're just playing, and you can do it like you don't get burnt out or drained because it's filling you up, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think what's been hard for me is finding those activities that actually fill me up, because of the fear of money and the fear of like not being productive and not being profitable. Yeah.
I feel like my version of what you're talking about right now with playing Stardew Valley and doing the, what's it called? Play with me or something like that.
Yeah,
what's it called?
I think it's just called, I don't even know, because I'm not even in, this is the first time I'm entering this space of gaming content creator. I think like the one that I was inspired off of, she called it a let's play.
Oh yeah, let's play, that's the word. My version of that was in relation to coding, was when I did personal projects early on in university. I mean, I did them even before that, but when I actually made ones that I was like more proud of in university, like the first real one I did, which was funny. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but the first like real kind of useful software project I made was, what was it? What did I call it? I can't remember what I called it. I'll probably remember in a sec, but it was the Chrome extension. Oh, Timely. That's what I called it. Yeah. The Chrome extension that because I noticed like in university, I was wasting time just habitually going to certain websites like YouTube or Imgur or something like that. And so I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to stop doing this, because I never even wanted to do it. Like I had other goals in mind. So I really didn't want to, but it was a habit that I was trying to break. So I decided then that I would write this Chrome extension to like block off certain times for certain websites, kind of like parental controls, but for myself. And that was the first project that I did, but that was a passion project and I really wanted to do it. And I didn't procrastinate while I was making it. And then once I finished it, I had this thing to help me stop procrastinating afterwards. And then that led into a bunch more projects, but it was more about having something that I wanted to do in my field, which was really important for giving me the enjoyment that I now have in doing certain things that are like sometimes I get stuck on a problem, and I'm annoyed, but I'll still enjoy it deep down.
Yeah. And it's
because
like
of those experiences that I've had. And also because I'm working on something still that is my own.
Yeah. I mean, when you were saying that, just a video game analogy as well. Like same with the podcast that was just uploaded today, the Life is a Video Game one. But video game analogy, it's like almost when you coded that Timely app, it's like you were creating a mod for your game, like your own personal Garett life game. And so it was you didn't procrastinate on it because it was rewarding, because there's like a clear like reward pathway there. Even though the reward pathway wasn't money, it was still like you were clearly connected to what you were going to be receiving.
Yeah.
from the result of outputting all this energy. And I think that's what I've been, like last week when we had that workshop and Liberated as well, the demystifying success, that was also like that idea for that workshop also just came from, because I'm like, I have like my reward pathway has always led to this like abstract concept of success, and I don't really know what that is. It was never like the concept of success wasn't really fleshed out, and if it ever was fleshed out, it was always like money related. But now it's like, actually, that's too, like, it just, I mean, that's probably why I got burnt out, because when like in your reward, what you're leading yourself to is abstract, you can lose motivation really quick because you don't actually know what the point is of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm also like with the Let's Play series and even with these Conscious Club podcasts, and I like when I privated all my videos in December and like kind of killed my channel, from then I've been really sitting with like, because I had such a reliance and dependence on analytics and numbers, and that's how I used to try to measure my abstract concept of success. And now it's like I don't have that anymore. Like I don't have that consistent, regular like views coming in. Like I mean, because after starting the channel in 2017, after like 4 or 5 years, I kind of built with the like popular videos and stuff. It built up this like consistent amount of views that I would get every day, like consistent amount of followers, and it just kind of stabilized. And then I killed my channel and I lost that, which really prompted me to think about, okay, do I still want to make YouTube videos then? And it's like, yeah, I still felt like I wanted to like self-express and like put myself out online, but now I had to do it from a place where I didn't have to care so much about the views. And that's what, like, even the Conscious Club podcast, like I don't even care. Like when I post it, I don't even look at the analytics, I don't look at the views, I don't care, because the success now, I feel like I'm measuring it through, like, there's people that's, I don't care how many views it gets, like, in total, but there's people that still message me, like, from my, like, now I'm cultivating, like, more of a deep community space with my people online. So, like, with the Liberated people, like, the group in, the people in Liberated, that community, and then also just other people who have been following me for a long time. It's like when they message me and they're like, oh, I really like that podcast, or like they bring up, they like DM me something about what I spoke about in the podcast or whatever, and they like it, like I feel like that's, at this point, like that's enough for me. Like I don't care if like thousands of people are watching the Let's Play or thousands of people are watching these podcasts. It's like, as long as one person watched it and liked it and like reflected that back to me, I feel successful in it, and it gives me that motivation to keep going. And also, I know I talk a lot. And also I'm now doing, like, the podcast is fun to do just as a podcast, as a standalone experience. You know, I'm not doing it for the views or the experience of like having views or the experience of like gaining followers or gaining clout or social credit. I'm doing it because it's fun to have conversations. I just love having conversations with people. So I'm inviting my like favorite people on, having conversations, and it's like I don't care then what happens once I post it. It's like I got my value out of it through the conversation. And now with Stardew, it's like I'm getting my value out of it because I'm like having fun playing this game. I don't care if people are there or not. But I also know that if people choose to be there, I'm gonna be like, I've cultivated a space. Like there is a reason why I'm posting it, because like that's Let's Play Stardew Valley, I'm cultivating a really relaxing, calm space for people to tap into, like when they're stressed or overwhelmed and they just need to put on something that's not too intense, that doesn't stress them out more. They could even play it in the background and it just kind of brings people back into that calmness. So there is something in it for the viewer, but also there's like already, I don't need the viewer to watch it for there to be something in it for me.
Yeah, that's kind of like, well, people, well, okay, let me restart. The top podcasters in the world, I think most of them started in that way. They just enjoyed talking to people and they happened to be recording it. It's almost as if they would just record it, or they would have those conversations either way, but they
Mhm.
just happen to hook up a microphone and a camera.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And it goes back to that. Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I doing it to chase profit, like to chase money, or am I doing it because I actually want to? And it was
yeah.
such a hard pill to swallow when I was like, just a few weeks ago, I was like, whoa, I've been talking about this a lot, but I'm still doing it. I'm still chasing the money. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still chasing it. And it's so annoying. But also, really interesting thing that happened today while I was recording my Let's Play video. So, like I said earlier, with the Let's Play, there's no clear pathway to profit, or like maybe like AdSense, whatever. But it's just like a free content that I'm posting. But today, while I was playing, like filming the first episode, I got a notification on my phone, and it was like, someone literally sent me money as a gift, like literally almost $200. I just got that notification out of nowhere, this like unexpected money, and it just felt like confirmation. It felt like mystical confirmation from the universe that like what I was doing was like the right thing, like not like going off of the chasing money. It's like I don't need to chase it. I can just do what's fun and what's exciting to me, and it's like the money just like comes to me. I don't know, it was really interesting and really cool and super unexpected, and from a source that I didn't even think that I would even speak to again. And it's not money I earned. It was just 100% gift.
Yeah.
Like that's the shit
See
that
where it
happens to
goes.
me with synchronicities. What do you mean see where it goes? That's it. There's nothing else to do in that department. It was just a gift.
But no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about see where whatever you're doing goes.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so a few months ago, I've had this happen to me twice now in Akashic Records readings. And like both times it's been this image and visual that comes through where I'm like chasing, it's like me chasing like the like stacks of money, and every time I like chase after them they like go further and further. And then the second visual, and then the next scene after that comes through is like when I'm still and I'm just like sitting, it's like the stacks of cash kind of just like they just come like magnetized to me when I'm still, but when I move around it's like repels it. Like sorry, not when I move around, but when I like chase them specifically, when I'm like focused on them and like run after them, they'll like run away from me. But it's kind of like Luna, when I'm like going after Luna and she'll run away from me, but when I'm sitting by myself she'll just come and hang out with me. And but I'm
Or
just
it's like, yeah, I see what you're saying, but also like you can just, if you walk towards Luna, she'll let you touch her. But if you run at her, she'll just run away. It's the same thing.
yeah,
It's kind of the
yeah.
slow and steady wins the race type deal, right?
Yeah, not that
If you're
like losing
desperate,
the
it'll
yeah,
show, right?
the
But if
desperation
you're not
vibe.
desperate, then you can get things done, and you're probably going to think more clearly and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
end up doing a better job.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like learning how to dissolve the vibe of desperation, because it's like when even in relationships, right? Like if you put, this is an analogy that a lot of people use, but if you put like personify money, and it's like you want to be in a relation, or you're in a relationship with money, you don't want to be and just like a romantic relationship for example, and you personify it, you don't want to be clingy, you don't want to be desperate. Like they're not going to want to be like if I was clingy and desperate and like always annoying to you, like we're not going to have as good of a relationship than when I'm centered in my space, in my own like I'm self-sufficient on my own, or self-sourced in my, like I'm not draining you for energy or emotional support, and like I'm not desperate for your attention. That's a better relationship to have than with someone who is like constantly trying to get something from you.
Yeah.
There could be a million better ways to articulate that, but that's how it came through now. So I think you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, I think it applies to a lot of things. That same concept of taking things more steadily and having better outcomes. Rushing things never works ever. Like, that's the core. I feel like rushing things is the core fault of every problem that ever existed.
The desire for the instant gratification that causes you to rush things. But also, it's like what I keep bringing up and I keep feeling it. It's like this, it's a sensation of being chased. Like one of the reasons why I've always rushed things in the past or tried to like go really fast or whatever, it feels like I'm running away from something. Like I'm being chased by some threat, and I need to like keep running, keep moving forward, keep doing things to escape it. And now I'm like, instead of acting on that sensation of feeling like I'm being chased, I'm just letting myself feel like I'm being chased and decide not to do anything to see if I actually die. That's straight up what I'm doing. Like I'm just like, well, let's see how long I can keep going by not letting myself succumb to this feeling of being chased. Like, let's see how long I survive like this. And so far, so good.
I mean, it takes a lot to die out of like non-physical things.
No, I know, but I mean death, even just identity death and whatever I'm trying to hold on to.
It's like
that's
if
like
your,
also what
if
I'm
your goals are,
trying to run away from.
I guess if you feel like your goals are becoming farther away, that's a form of death. Or not really a form of death, but that's I guess what you're talking about.
When it comes to
if you're doing what you're doing now and it feels like your goals are moving farther away, then you feel like it's not working.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And like with the money stuff, it's like if I am like, I'm not going to
if your bank account gets to zero.
Yeah, if I start accumulating like negative, like if I start like if I'm like, I can't pay off my subscriptions or whatever, like my like whatever monthly recurring income, and then I'll be like, okay, I don't want to die, so I'll do something different. I'll try something different. Yeah, but until then, I'm gonna keep going at this and see what happens. And the thing is, like, because I'm in such a relaxed state too, like people who are like I'm just building such better relationships with people in my community, like people who watch me, people who are already here. Whereas before, my focus was always on, let's see how many new people I can attract. Like, let's grow my audience. And I neglected the people who are already in my audience, who are already in my community, because I was trying to run and I felt like I was being chased, and it's just like the never ending, like, not enoughness. And ever since I just slowed down and like stopped acting on that feeling of being chased, I have been able to create more spaciousness, and I just have more energy to deepen relationships with the people already here, which then makes me feel even more successful, even more supported, because then those people are even more devoted to me and my work. Yeah. It's like building community from the inside out rather than from the outside in. You know? It's so different. Like, it feels so different. It feels like I'm going against, like, every how to grow an online business rule right now, but it's feels the best. I feel the best that I've ever felt. And I feel the most successful that I've ever felt, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, so that's about,
I think you're like, going against what people say works, but you're doing exactly what actually works.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that get the idea from the YouTube ad or the something, just do this and this and you'll be successful, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and even all the like how to grow your social media, like when I started YouTube, I watched this has probably like created so many limiting beliefs in me, but I watched like so many people talking about like the best way to like grow a channel when it comes to analytics and tags, and it like created so much complexity in my head that it's like, then I almost felt paralyzed, because I'm like, okay, well, if I don't do this, this, and this, then it's not even worth posting anything. Which created just so much pressure, and I feel like I'm just detangling myself from all of that and just being like, okay, what do I actually want to do? Like, how do I actually want to do this? And what that's also looking like is doing the podcast. Like, it's so, for so long I've been struggling with having a weekly upload because it was so overcomplicated, my process for creating a weekly upload. Now it's like so easy because I just record a podcast. I don't even edit it. I'll listen to it through if I feel like it. I just edit like the intro in and the thing like the end thing in, and create like the little social media promo, and that's it. Like, it takes like half an hour. And it's just like, that's what I want to do. I don't want to sit in editing. And now I can maintain a consistent upload schedule because I made it easy for myself.
And then if you ever want to edit your videos or change the format, you can just hire someone.
Exactly. And that's
that
my
you don't
plan.
Want to do. Yeah.
That's my plan. Like, eventually I want, like, I understand the benefits of doing all those things, but I'm not going to waste. Yeah, I'm not going to do it at the expense of me even posting anything at all. Yeah.
And it ruins the quality of your content as well, because you're just worried about, oh, like, I got to make this short because I don't want to edit a 3-hour podcast, right?
Yeah. I mean, when I think back to some of my earliest videos, when I first started making it, they were like maybe 20-minute long videos or whatever when I would do vlogs. Some of the vlogs took me legit, like, one time I counted, it took me like 9 hours to edit. It's like, of course I don't want to fucking do a vlog every week if I'm utilizing some process that makes it so it takes me 9 hours to edit.
Yeah, but that's standard. That's probably on the low end of what some channels
do but they have
editing.
A team, right? Or they either have a team or
they hire full-time editors that it might take the editor 2 days to finish the video.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I always say. Like, if it's like, I'm like, if I had an editor, I would be posting so much content, because filming things and talking is not the issue for me. It's the bottleneck for me is like the editing and the post-production and thumbnail creating and all of that. Like, it just takes all the fun out of it for me. But yeah.
Yeah. Good.
All right. I think
that's it.
Yeah, I think that's
that
good.
Was a while, I think.
I think it's like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good.
Little update.
Yep. Thank you, Garett. See you next month. I mean, see you in like a few minutes because you're in the room behind me. But see you next month in this space. Or maybe sooner. I don't know.
See what happens. See if anything changes.
Yeah. Okay. Love you.
Love you too.